This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
What up, guys? So super excited today. I've got an awesome guest, an absolute gangster and an OG in the industry, been knocking for probably longer than a lot of you guys even been around or even in the industry. So I'm excited to have my boy, Ashton Buswell, here on the show. Thank you for joining us, Ashton. Appreciate it.
Yeah, excited to be here, man. Let's rip it up.
Yes. So I'm excited because you're like the diamond in a rough that I was just on a call with someone earlier, a coaching client of mine, and he was just fanboying over you. So this is my first, I have followed you for probably 3 or 4 years now, and just seeing the level of, here's one of the things I want to just compliment you on and just honor you on, is that I think it's really, really cool that you're an awesome sales professional. Like, I don't know anybody that's even remotely close to, actually, I know one person that's in your backyard, as a matter of fact, but anyways, that's one person. I don't know anybody else that's even remotely close to has the ability to sell as many deals as you do and install them, and to also recruit and to train and to have just to be a leader worth following that you are. Like you're great and all that. But the fact that you're an awesome human being and you're an awesome father, an awesome husband, to me is way more important. So I'm excited to jam with you, which we were talking earlier. Again, we're going to talk about all the accolades that you have, and I think that's awesome. But again, in this, what our audience is looking for on the Road to the Golden Door podcast is the insights and getting under the hood of the mindset, the habits of a Golden Door Award winner. And not only that, you're not a one-time Golden Door Award winner. You're like almost 10-time. You're like a 5 or 6-time Golden Door Award winner. You were a Golden Door Award winner before there was even a Golden Door Award. So the fact that you can stay consistently doing that, and also at the same time have harmonistically, as we'll talk about later on with your book, your life and your business life, and congruently with your family. Dude, I am so honored to talk with another brother that is just being awesome with your whole life. So, dude, just thank you for being here.
I appreciate that, man. I don't know where to go from there, but say God was good.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you saying all those nice things. I do feel blessed and honored that I had been able to, and it's not everybody's privilege to be able to. I think there's a lot of choices we make or don't make by actions that we take and choices that we can make to become what we want. And I think that's a lot of it that I've been able to be successful in my life at home and at work because I've been intentional. And I think people miss out on that. They just grind without a lot of purpose. And we can talk about making sure that the most important thing is still the main thing is the main thing. And that's kind of been some of my guiding principles with being able to be well-rounded,
Yeah.
So
for anybody that's not a fanboy of Ashton, tell them your backstory. Just really quick. Who are you? Where are you from? Where are you at now?
Backstory, a lot of things that contribute to my life are that I come from a family of 8 kids, and we moved around a lot. So I understand what it's like to be the lonely kid at lunch. I luckily had brothers a grade above me and 2 grades below me. So wherever we moved, I would always look for my brother at lunch. I wrestled in high school and college, and the accountability, the work ethic, and the grit that comes from wrestling. There's lots of life principles in wrestling. You weigh this exact same amount of, you weigh the exact same as the next person that you're going to wrestle. So what's the difference? Your mental and your technique and your time on the mat. those things have really shaped me a lot, and sports in general. And my new sport has become sales. I know this is a sales podcast. My sales pedigree is or history is I started in 2005 selling satellites. I legit ran door to door for $65 a sale. That was like what we got paid. And I busted my tail to be one of the top reps and was one of the top reps. Did that for 3 years, sold alarms for 3 years. And then after doing that for 6 years, I was kind of done with door-to-door sales. And my brother convinced me to move down to San Diego to start some businesses with him. So I started a carpet recycling business and a cement powder business, kind of some off-the-wall businesses. And lost my shorts, paid my tuition to School of Hard Knocks on the carpet recycling business. And then sold LED lighting for a year, sold a business networking group for a year. And then in 2014, got back into solar. So I've been in solar for 8.5 years, and I sucked at it at first. But I'm grateful that I stuck to it because it has been a life-changing experience. So
It's awesome.
that's me.
My first question is, what weight class did you wrestle in?
High school 160, college 157.
Let's go, dude. I was 160 as well.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I wrestled up to 172s because the 160 guys we had were just really good, and I was real nimble and was able to wrestle up and still weighed in at 159, 160 on weight on.
Yeah.
Wrestled up.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. For some reason, I would have thought you were down like the 135s. Those guys, 135s, 145s, those kids are just insane, dude. You're like, they can hang with the 170s, 160s all day long. These kids are those.
Yeah. As a freshman in Montana, I got third in state at 140. I was actually ranked in the top 3 at 145 and 152 at the same time, because we had a really strong 140 pounder. He ended up taking state. I lost to him in the semifinals at state. And then me and a couple of the guys at 145, 152 kind of jumped around. So I was ranked in the top 3 at 2 different weights that I didn't even wrestle state at. And then I got third at state at 140. And then I moved to Utah, and I was like, dude, I don't want to cut weight. And I could win at 160, and I didn't have to cut weight as a sophomore. And I was like, I'm just gonna stay here. And then I owned that weight class. By the time I was a senior playing football, I probably weighed 174, 175, and then I had to cut to get to 160 as a senior. But I just camped out that weight because I didn't have to cut weight initially.
Yeah, that's funny. That's almost the exact weight I was at in high school. So that's pretty cool. And then I got a lot bigger after high school and college. I ended up getting to like 225, 226. So
nice.
The whole boulder shoulders model. So awesome, dude. So you're at Legacy. I love Luke, love Doug. Those guys are absolute, they're just outstanding men, all around. I don't care what anybody says. I think they're outstanding people. They're a great representation of what the industry standard needs to be. They are relentless. They are both, again, leaders worth following. And I've kicked myself in the butt years ago for not moving in with Legacy. And I think in 2018, I think is what it was. And I did not. But again, my road still led to where I'm at. But I kicked myself in the butt because I was like, man, if I would have just, gone with Legacy, everything would have been a lot easier. Not easier, but I wouldn't have had to struggle as much. But again, that's, I played the cards, as my dad says, I played the cards that I was dealt. And we're from Vegas. So I played the cards that I was dealt, and I hit the ball out of the park multiple times in a row. So
yeah, that's awesome. Now, Legacy is great. You nailed it with Doug and Luke. Incredible humans, great business people, but incredible humans. They do a great job of helping people be human and allow them to be human around them. It's great.
Yep, absolutely. So tell me a little about, I know you're reaching 1,000 personal installs now in your career. For the listeners, a lot of the guys that listen to this and girls that listen to this are already Golden Door Award winners. The goal is to help a Golden Door Award winner that installs now 130 installs in a year to get to 260. Where do you think that if you can talk to that Golden Door Award winner and they're at 100, let's just say 145, 146, them to get to 260, what do you think they're missing?
What are they missing? I don't know how they operate right now. My guess is they probably have lead gen guys. They have setters for them.
Most of them do. Yeah.
So I guess one of the things that I will say they're probably missing is a little bit of balance, a little bit of me time. It's crazy. I'm in the last chapter of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've enjoyed that book and different parts of that book on and off for years. I just decided to re-listen to it. And the idea of sharpening the saw is a very, very real thing, right? God gave us a day of rest, right? In the Bible, the beginning of time, there was a time
He rested.
where he rested, right? And told us also to rest. And that sometimes guys that are hitting the golden door don't rest because they think they need to redline it all of the time. And so they just go 7-day warrior and crush it 7 days and tell their setters, hey, I'll go to an appointment all day, every day. You just let me know. And they don't allow for a little bit of balance in their own life and have a little bit of boundaries. So I had a rep, a really, really high performing rep. I was super proud of him. He just got 14 in a day. And he said to me once, he's like, Ashton, you do really good with boundaries. I don't do as well with boundaries. And by that, boundaries I said is, hey, when I'm on date night, I'm all in on date night. I appreciate, and unless it's an emergency, if it's an emergency, call me. If you're dying or something's happening and it's an ultimate emergency, call me. But if it's not an emergency and I'm on date night, the most important thing I can do for my life and for my wife's life is to be with her all in, and set up that boundary. And I also won't respond back to customers usually before 9 a.m. And sometimes people are like, well, dude, and my phone is my asset, like it's the biggest asset that I have, right? I make money if I respond to texts. I make money if I answer phone calls. So why wouldn't I do that before 9 a.m.? Well, because I don't want them to get in the habit of calling me at 6:30 in the morning. Now, if it's an emergency, if I know it's their install day and they call me at 7, I'm going to answer the phone.
Sure.
Right? Something must be going wrong if it's their install day and they're calling me at 7 in the morning. I'll answer. But if they've got a question about, oh, dude, should I maybe change plans, or should I maybe add another pound or two? Like, hey, I'll answer that after 9 a.m. And what that allows me to do is in the morning, I am able to sharpen the saw, read my scriptures, exercise, connect with my wife, connect with my kids, make breakfast for my kids, walk my kids to the bus stop, and listen, go for a walk, listen to audiobooks. I get a crap ton done for me when I'm sharpening the saw for me before I start my day, and I have some boundaries for customers. So guys that are redlining right now and to get to 140, I remember I actually got admitted to the hospital. We didn't talk about this pre-call, but I got admitted to the hospital a few years ago for my heart. And it was all stress related. Part of and there's a few big ones that kind of, when the doctor went in and I got tested and they said my heart was totally fine. But as I talked to multiple doctors, they're like, I think it's just stress. And I was a bishop at church, kind of newer called bishop at church. I was a dad, husband. I was the top sales rep in my company, the national sales director for my company. I ran San Diego. I wanted to get to 300 installs in a year. And the most anybody previously had done was 148, and that was me. So I'm like trying to double what I've done, and I knew what it took to get to 148 installs in a year. And anyway, I had all these pressures that I was really just putting on myself, and not a lot of balance time. And I redlined, and my heart was making these weird feelings, and I got admitted, and they said, dude, find something that's not work, not church, not family, and kind of have some Ashton time. And so I picked up ping pong at church. We had a ping pong table at At work, we had a ping pong table, and so I, for a year or two, got good at ping pong. But to get to the next level, I think guys need to have that sharpen the saw time. They need to have some time where they are improving themselves, where they also are taking their mind off of work. And that's really hard when, again, our cell phone is our moneymaker. But having your phone on do not disturb. And I've gone further down this. I love it. I feel way refreshed all day Sunday. I put my phone on do not disturb. It's off. And I love it. I forget. We went to the fireworks and I forgot my phone at home. People are like, you what? We went to the fireworks. My wife didn't have her phone. I didn't have my phone. And I asked her as we were driving, I was like, do you have your phone? She's like, no. I said, oh, well, I don't either. It would have been cool to get pictures with our kids, but isn't that nice not to have our cell phones with us? Because we're just chained to that thing, Yeah. And to be able to not be so chained to that, but still be able to go all in when you need to it's a powerful thing. So anyway, that was a long explanation for your short question.
And I'm really excited because with your book that you're writing right now, I believe the title is The Balanced Life. You talk about how to live a life of harmony and how a balanced life is actually a myth. And I'm sure you'll get into the the story about getting in the hospital and stuff like that, and you'll get more in depth in that. But dude, like I'm a huge, like, anybody that's ever listened to my podcast, listen to my YouTube, watch me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, been in my office, been in my company, understands that I talk about whole life success so much. And here is the 6 items that I focus on with whole life success. And I kind of want to understand, maybe either we can talk about them individually, but I want to know, because let me preface this really quickly. Ed Milet has talked tons of times. I'm in Arete. Arete Syndicate is his mastermind. And he talks a lot about, like, you can have, anybody can have a 1, 2, 3 year success, but to have Ashton being a 5, 6 year Golden Door Award winner consistently, to run a family of 4, to be married for 16 plus years, to serve in your church consistently, be a great dude. Just rhetorical question. How do you do that? I know that there's like, my thing is, success leaves clues. So the guys and the girls that are listening to this, they're intrigued by how do you live a balanced life, because it's a myth. So I'm excited to be able to get deeper into this. So let me talk to you really quickly about whole life success, what whole life success is. So the keys that we talk about is financially, personally, spiritually, family, mentally, and physically. So usually I start with financially last, but in this case, it's on the top there, because I think financially is the last thing you need to worry about. I think it's more important to be mentally, spiritually, and personally there. And then you get your family right, and then you get your physical right, and then you get your financial right. And sometimes it's in order, sometimes it's not. Obviously, sometimes guys have other ones, more dialed in. But when I do coaching in one-on-one, which I know you do a lot of right now, that's something that we focus on a lot. So which of those stand out to you most?
So I agree with you that you've got to get your personal right first. But I would put family right next to that, because if your family isn't right, your whole mind is affected. And guys can pretend like life isn't that good at home, or know that life isn't good at home, and just bury their nose in work and maybe crush it at work. But there's always something in the back of their mind nagging at, man, if only it were better, if only I had a better relationship, if only I could just connect with my kids more, if only I could connect with my wife more, or whatever. And kind of their dopamine hit is, well, I'm just going to keep hustling and get more sales. And when you get a sale, it feels good, but it's kind of an empty good. right? So I would think that in your whole life success, you got to get yourself right. If you don't get yourself right first, you also can't get your family right, because you're part of that family nucleus. You're part of that family whole. If that part, one of the parts isn't good or healthy, and that's you, that's something you can control. So to have that whole life success, you've got to figure out get you in a good place, then your family, and then a lot of those other things. I mean, did you say health? Health was on there, right?
Yeah. Health. So we've got financially, personally, spiritually, family, mentally, and then physically. And the physical side will be your health. So physiology.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that's really an important thing. So you referenced my book, The Balanced Life. So it's in its very infant state, but I really am passionate about it because I think that there's a lot of good there. The head fake with The Balanced Life is there's no such thing as the balanced life. Where we can have success in our life is if we have a harmonious life. And that's really where success lies, is having harmony. If your home life is harmonious, if you're in harmony with yourself, am I doing good? Am I feeding myself good food? Am I feeding my brain good things? Am I a nice person? Am I talking goodness into the world? Am I bringing goodness to people? When I show up wherever I am, do I smile, and do I get smiles back? Right? Is that self? If that's good, then you're in harmony there. Now you got to be in harmony with your spouse or significant other in order for work to work, in order for your family to work, in order for your spiritual life to work. You may not be members of the same religion. That's okay, as long as there's harmony there, right? You may be a Muslim and a Christian living together, and as long as there's harmony and mutual respect and love, then it can work. And so there needs to be that. One of the things that I realized through the coronavirus was how important it was for me to be in harmony with my body. I wrestled in high school and college. I did good in college and I'm super proud of it. But I kind of stopped working out. And for years, I would run every once in a while. My wife was just hustling in our at-home gym or running. And she was frustrated because I still had definition in my biceps and I wasn't doing squat. She's like, how is this possible? This is unfair. And we had the coronavirus and I'm stuck at home and I'm sitting at home. At the time I was a bishop at church. And I remember thinking, if I don't read my scriptures, it's my fault. I could work 12 hours in a day and I would still have time to read my scriptures. So if I don't read scriptures, it's my fault. And then I had the same realization a week or two later, like, oh my gosh, if I don't exercise, that's my fault. If I can work my tail off 9 to 9, well then I can wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning. I've got 3 hours and I've got time at night before I go to bed. Even if I work a 12-hour day, which is a long day, and not everybody does that, a 10-hour day, it's my own fault if I'm not exercising. It's my own fault if I'm not connecting with God. And so I started to realize that I wasn't in harmony with my body. And so I if you follow me on social media, Ashton Buswell, either on Facebook or Instagram, just at Ashton Buswell, you'll see every once in a while a non-negotiable Monday morning workout or a non-negotiable date night or non-negotiable daddy-daughter date. Because there was a few components of my life and in order to have harmony with my whole life that I needed to have non-negotiable. Now I have some givens, man. It's a given that I pray. Just a habit that I have. It's a given that I'll read my scriptures. Those are some givens. It's a given that I'll eat breakfast and I'll, try to eat healthy. I guess it's not a given that I'm eating healthy, but there's some givens that I have. But then there's also some non-negotiables. And I found out that if I didn't work out on Monday morning or a Monday, that I usually wouldn't hit my goal for the week. And I wanted to exercise 4 times a week. If I didn't do it Monday, lots of times I wouldn't do it Tuesday. And then I've only got 4 days left to get 4 workouts in. And if I had an early morning meeting or had something else come up, I wasn't hitting my goals. But if I started my Monday out with a workout, then I usually would work out on Tuesday. And then the opposite would happen. I'd have 4 days to get 2 workouts in. And it became non-negotiable for me because I needed to be in harmony with my body. and I got into great shape. It felt awesome. In fact, I even wrestled in the US Open, US Nationals, and at the end of April as a 40-year-old old guys division. And because I've gotten my body, I've gotten my body in good enough shape, and was like, let's try it. See if I can lace up my old boots and go beat up some dudes. And so anyway, again, your idea, I love your idea of your whole life success. That's brilliant. And all those categories that you have are really good. I would agree with you when you said that if you've got all your everything and all your ducks in a row, your financial it'll naturally come.
Yeah.
If you've got all those other things in order and you've got harmony in each of those categories, it's would be almost impossible not to have success financially if you had those things lined up already. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, that's why I think that the society has pushed us to, and culture has pushed us to go and chase money. And it's like chasing two rabbits. Like you end up with nothing. Like you end up trying to be credible, but also chase money and like chase a career and like a career position. And then like you end up with nothing, you end up like not realizing that, again, sharpening the axe is massively important to that. But yeah, it's I think money should be the last thing we focus on it, because as Jim Rome says, like, if you're given $1 million, best you become a millionaire. Otherwise you'll be like the people that win the lottery. There's like, it's like 84% of them are bankrupt within 5 years. Like, how do you win multiple millions of dollars and become bankrupt? It's because of the person that you have become is not someone that knows how to then manage money. But again, that's because of the habits before. I think that's really important. So you talked to me earlier about these date nights. And the reason, so let me go back really quickly. The reason why I say family is like second and third or third is only because a lot of the guys that I coach right now in one-on-one coaching or guys that hit me up all the time that are just in the industry are not married. I wasn't married for the first, I think, not 8 years of my door-to-door career, but in the office, I was in the number one office at Solar City, and every one of those guys were all married and had kids. And I was the only one that wasn't, or one of the only ones that weren't married, and I didn't have a girlfriend. I was like not dating at the time. I was trying to get my other portions of my life together and sharpening my axe, so when I say that, I don't just mean like if they're married. I also mean their mom and dad. A partner of mine just lost his mom. And I know that people, if we can't stay grateful for our parents, like I understand, like your parents might not be the best example. Well, guess what? One of the coolest parts about my dad is he taught me a lot of what not to do as well. Because your parent didn't teach you what to do, and they didn't teach me how to budget or how to make money or finances or whatever, but like, cool. Well, guess what? They just taught you a lot of what not to do as well. Like, how do you look at the positive in any situation? And I think that again, I'm going to say this again, but this is very consistent in Golden Door Award winners, is that they see 90% solution and 10% the problem. They see the positive in the world. They're not focusing where focus goes, energy flows. They're not focusing on, wow, I just got cut off. I can't believe that. You're like, well, maybe they needed to get there a little earlier to their job or whatever, like, I don't know. So it's consistent in a top performer. So I think that's awesome. And you obviously ooze top performer. So it's pretty badass. So I think one of the things that I want to get into now is you, it's funny, legacy. What I hear from you when I watch your stuff on Instagram and social media, you ultimately are documenting things so that your kids will be able to see what grandpa did, and they'll be able to watch back and say what grandpa did at 30, what grandpa did at 40, what grandpa did at 20, what dad did at 20, what dad did at 30, what dad did at 40. And that's something that I've been actually getting to a point where I know that everything that we're doing is being recorded let alone, obviously this is, but like, being put on the internet. So our kids will be able to go back and be like, what did what did daddy do at 30? I'm 30 years old now. What did dad, how did daddy react? And that's one of those where I keep hearing that you've got these almost bulletproof standards that you have built over time. Now, a lot of the guys that listen and girls that listen to this podcast are in their 20s, right? They're not, they think, Ashton, they think it's impossible to be able to achieve what you've achieved. They've installed 60 deals a year. That's like them, that's them redlining. And you're like, yeah, I did 60 deals last month. I did 60 deals last week, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the legacy thing is really, really cool. That's something that I'm just hearing that same thing over and over and over again. Not that the fact that you work with legacy, but your legacy,
we're leaving a legacy. Yeah.
Yeah. You're very intentional about what people are going to say about you at your funeral. And to me, that's so important. Like
and I think what, one of the things that a phrase that I learned when I was 20 years old was keep the main thing, the main thing. Maybe I learned it before, but when it really hit me was when I was 20 years old. And I was, doing a church service mission. And sometimes we get distracted by what's the main thing. And I think people got to figure out what their main things are. If they don't know what their main thing is, then that's something that they need to learn, right? They need to dig in and like go to some courses or figure some stuff out. What is the most important thing for me? What's my main thing? My wife and I were in Europe the last 10 days. Over that time span, it was a Sunday and we went to church. We found a church in Finland and we went to church. And I had a guy text me. He's like, dude, why are you going to church, bro? You're on vacation. Well, one of my main things is God. And every Sunday I have an opportunity to go to church and be with God. And I can be with God all the time. Right. Sure, I can consider my scripture study in the morning and me with God, right? But I go to church. That's what I do. Even if I'm in Finland or if I've walked like 2 hours one time when I was in Italy with my wife. That's what we do. It's part of our main thing, right? And so I think when people kind of lose their way is they don't know what their main things are. What are their most important things? In 7 Habits, they talk about your big rocks. What are your big rocks? What are the most important things? You have to do these things this week, and you can't move them. You can't budge. They're your most important things. What are those to you? And if you haven't dug deep to find those out, try to figure it out. And when you know that and have a little more solid, like these are the things that are most important to me, my relationships, how I treat people, my integrity, right? My family, how I love people, when you figure out those things. And one of my main things is fun, dude. I try to have fun all of the time. That's one of the ways you have consistency over time is you have fun. If you don't like what you do, your life's it sucks, dude. You find something else that you enjoy doing, and so anyway, I don't know if that answered exactly where you're going there, but I think that's not everybody knows their stuff or knows who they are and what their main things are that they should figure out. And I think that is an important thing. So
one of my main things is to be like you, where when people look at Ashton on the internet, when they look at Mikey on the internet, I want them to literally think, and I've already gotten this a few times, which is super awesome because you represent this. I have no idea whether or not you're working or you're having fun. Okay. I can't tell the difference. You might be wearing a legacy.
That's great.
You might be like, I can't ever tell. That is one of my life missions to represent, having fun. Because, dude, yes, the world is crumbling around us, but there still is a hope for a future. I am not where I used to be. I am not who I was. I am a new creation in Christ Jesus. Like, I am not who I was. This is totally new, brother. Like, this is not the same Mikey 10, 15 years ago. Not even yesterday, I'm new, which is awesome because that's one of the cool parts about being married. They always told me this. They're like, you don't even know, like being married, like you get tested. And
changes stuff, man. Yeah, it changes you, dude.
I'm like, do you know how many seminars and personal development books I have read? Brother, I am on the 7th step of self-mastery. I am there. Dude, little did I know, I've been married for 3.5, 4 months now. And it has been a whirlwind. And I'm not saying like our marriage is not like going great, because it is. We are still technically in the honeymoon phase, but I don't ever, Ashton, ever want to leave the honeymoon phase, bro. Like, you have a choice. And I can see that in your marriage. Like, you guys are still technically 16 years later in, if you will, the honeymoon phase, because you deliberately date your wife. You deliberately have time with your wife. I heard on another podcast you got interviewed on, you're like, dude, like I got to let my, if I don't allow my wife to have her time in the morning to go work out, like everything else is all jacked up. Like if I have to go climb stairs while I'm knocking on doors, do some push-ups, I will. So I get mine in. And it's just, it's an awesome thing to know that there is men like Ashton. I don't know why this is the case, but I got told for the last probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, when I was trying to understand that marriage was something that was sacred and that could have an awesome, and I want to design one of my standards, my main things is for that people in the world to look at Ryan and my marriage and be like, there must be a God. Like, that's a standard. Like, that is like, there must be a God. Cool. Like, there's no possible way that like, there's no God. And look at them. Like, how do they do this? And I know that's maybe a bold statement, but like I've written that down many times. Like, it's in my pocketbooks. I've got 50 of these pocketbooks I've been writing down for this long of a time. And not only that, one of the other things was I also wrote down, and this might sound weird, but like I wrote down that I was the best thing that ever happened to my wife. And I take that serious, dude. Like, that is, I'm obligated to make sure that
but that's true.
The roots of my wife, the fruit that she bears, I need to make sure the nutrients around her roots are the fruit that people pick off from her tree are delicious and sweet, not the opposite, right? And I'm spiritually, I'm the one that's supposed to be doing that now that she's my wife. And I don't know, I love to watch your family, and it's just awesome to know that there is a hope for an exceptional family, to be an exceptional father, to be an exceptional husband, and brother. Dude, like you're dude,
that's funny. I'll share a funny story. I haven't told this yet, and it's not like I'm keeping a secret or anything like that, but we just got back from this trip in Europe, and we were in Spain. And I asked the lady, would you mind taking a picture of me and my beautiful bride? And she's like, oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. You're just so, congratulations. Congratulations. You guys are just so cute. How long have you guys been married? And I said, well, she's my beautiful bride of 16 years. Oh my gosh, it seems like you guys just got married. Right. And it's so sweet. That's so tender that you still consider your beautiful bride. I'm like, yeah, man, like you said, I gotta always be in that honeymoon phase, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I haven't always been, right? I haven't always been in and I'm different. Like you said, I'm a different person now than I ever have been. And I think that, again, to the Golden Door winners, the formula for massive success is consistent effort over time. That's the formula. You can go like crazy and crush whatever part of your life for a month, for 2 months, and it go to crap. But the most successful people in any area of your life is consistent effort over time, If I had a Twinkie every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm going to get results, right? I'm probably not going to get results that are good to my body, but I would get results if I had consistent effort, consistent Twinkie eating over time. I would get that, right? And so I too didn't always date my wife all the time, and I didn't date my kids all the time, but I made a conscious decision right before I was asked to be, or when I was asked to be a bishop. I went in the car after my wife was there with me and was kind of shell shocked, like, is this real? I'm 33 years old. Like, what the crap, you know? Mm. And in that car, we had a conversation. Listen, we have to go on dates every week. It's only going to get busier. We have to. That has to be the most important investment, the most important appointment of my week, because you're my most important earthly relationship. We've got to do it. So since that time, that was like 6.5 years ago, we've only missed a few. And things have, my travel the last year and a half has changed a lot. So we've missed more the last year and a half than we had previous to that. But for 5 years, we miss like once or twice, right? So I also haven't had all this stuff dialed in yet. I'm still working on my morning routine. I feel like I've got a really solid morning routine right now, but it's been some time, right? I've been working on it and evolving and trying to improve on it. But the consistent effort over time is what gets you there. And I think when I was kind of becoming harmonious with my body, that the thing that really became prevalent with that is my exercising. Like I would exercise and I'd exercise and I wouldn't. I wasn't seeing much results. And then when I exercise consistently 4 times a week for like 9 months, all of a sudden, dude, like, oh, whoa, man, I'm pretty cut. And where did this come from? You know, and it wasn't an overnight thing, but it was because I had put in the time over and over and over and over again that I was successful. So for the Golden Door winners, the way that you get to the next levels is probably do what you're doing, or do what you're doing when you're best and do it more often, right? You have that consistent effort more and more, so that when you're your best, do whatever that was, do that again, and do it more than once, and do it for longer than a month, right? Do it for a long time, and you'll get to next levels in different areas of your life.
Love that, dude. Appreciate you sharing that. I know that our guys and girls that are going to get a lot out of that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Not transitioning, but I want to know some definitions. I want to know into the mind of Ashton. When you hear burnout, what do you think?
When I hear burnout, I think it sucks. I think it comes about because there's a lack of intention and fun. But I also think it's a real thing when people make it real. I've had a few different stages of my life where I've felt burnt out, and then I've realized, dude, that's only me saying burnt out. Other people do exactly what I'm doing right now and can call it fun. It's just a mindset, right? And when I start to teeter on the, man, I'm just feeling real burnt out, I recognize that I'm the one that's putting that out there. No one else has been like, hey, dude, you look burnt out, or you're the definition of burnt out. Like, it's me that says, I put it on me that I'm burnt out or not, and then I make a mental change. Don't know if that was the definition much, but yeah, that's my response.
Perfect. You talk a lot about me time. I think one of the biggest things that Golden Door Award winners lack is that me time. I've interviewed guys that have made it 3, 4, 5 years, three or 4 years in a row, like Michael Donald, and other guys that are, they hit it in 2017, and then they kind of started going down, and whatever happened, whatever. But explain to the guy that's selling 60 why the reason why he's not selling 130 or installing 130 is because he's not spending enough me time. Will you just elaborate a little bit more? Like, what does that mean to you? Give us some tangibles, some implementable stuff. Like, what are you doing with me time?
So you can't draw water from an empty well. So if you don't have the me time, you're not filling back up your well with water. And so it's counterintuitive. Like, well, maybe I should just work longer. I got a degree from BYU, and there's a term called marginal returns. After, like, if you work so hard, there's a point where you can keep working hard, but you're going to get like a tiny little incremental amount of progress. But people think, well, I just got to keep working more. And really, you're just kind of getting tiny little bits, when if you would stop and pour back into your well with some of your me time, then you would be more effective. Your returns would be greater when you are working. And so you want some practicals from me, like what I do to have some me time?
Yeah. With some, just get creative. Like, give these guys something they can go do this weekend.
So first one is exercise. Exercise with exercise, not always with music blaring in your ear. Just have some alone headspace. I actually, when I drive around, I don't listen to music very much. I don't listen to podcasts very much. I try when I'm driving, I'm usually on the phone talking to people, but if I'm not, I try to have silence. And I try to just be with me and not have something in my face, and just have some me time. So for the first thing I would say is exercise. If you're not exercising, that is one of the fastest shortcuts to getting energy, to not feeling burnt out. You get a natural flow of endorphins going. That is one of the quickest life hacks. If you're not already doing that, that would be a really good me time exercise. Another good me time exercise that I try to do is to send gratitude texts. You would be amazed at when you send a text to somebody and express gratitude or honor them in some way, what you get back. Like, you want to talk about filling your cup up. When you express gratitude to somebody, like, hey man, I saw you and congratulations on 7 years of being sober, dude. That I respect that. I honor that. That is such an incredible thing. You may get a text back saying, dude, well, I look up to you because thank you so much. And I look up to you because boom, 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 boom. And now you're getting fed, right? You're feeling, somebody else is filling up your well because you do something out. And it isn't always about that, right? I'm not sending out gratitude texts to have people stroke my ego. It's a pure gratitude text of, I'm sincerely grateful for this thing. And when you steps outside of you and just express gratitude, that is another way to have, some me time, a fast way to have me time be replenished of like, man, I've got it good. I really do have it good. Life is good. Family's good. Health is good, and I need to express some gratitude. That's another takeaway of something that I try to do every day, is express gratitude. Those would be probably my biggest ones. And then if you don't have a system set up, like my biggest me time, my sport has become sales. Like, I love selling. Like, it's my sport. So I want to compete. Money is great. Money will come, but I just want to beat you, in sales. And really, I want to beat me. I want to be better than I was yesterday. And I just want to get better and hone my skills in. And so my hobby is kind of my job, which is fun. But my me time in the morning, before 10 in the morning, I'm trying to connect with God, my wife, each one of my kids, and I've got an 18-month-old. My connection is just like me grabbing her and looking her in the eyeballs and talking to her and smiling at her and her smiling back, but I try to connect with God, my wife, my kids, and my health, my body and my brain. I try to stimulate my brain with some mental stuff. If I'm listening to books or listening to something that motivational in the morning before 10 a.m. If before 10 a.m. I've crushed the day and I've got all those things done, I can't lose the day. And I'm already, then I could start working at 10. And usually I start working at like 9, but I can start working at 10 o'clock and feel fresh and feel rejuvenated and put all the time into work that I need to, because I've already connected with some of my most important things in my life before most people, or before some people will wake up,
I noticed that you said earlier, and this is something that I don't want to say I struggle with, but I definitely wrestle with this, if you will. I am more filled and more excited when I get into my scriptures and like just completely filled up. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. But yet I still wrestle with wanting to slow down. And, the millennial generation, I talk about this in my book, Purposeful Profit, Mastering the Millennial Mindset for Success. I talk about how, our generation is going so fast. And if we don't slow down, we're going to miss the greatest years of our life. And then, go back and say, well, then go start living vicariously through our kids. Like, when I was 18 or 25, I was, so I just, yeah, dude, I don't know. I think it's it's hard for the millennial because we've been dealt a bad hand, and yet we want all these cool, fun things, but we put the opinion of others too much opinion of others too high on the pedestal.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to God, we run away because we think he's going to damn us. He's mad at us. Because a lot of times people either their dad or their mom was, a lot of times their dad, might not have been the nicest person to them or whatever, right? Or their dad was like absentee or whatever. And, they think that God's the same way. So I wrestle. I don't say I struggle, but because I'm compelled to get in the scriptures. But sometimes I wrestle with getting in the scriptures, even though I know how fulfilled I get after that and how filled up I become. And I overflow with just excitement, not just excitement because I think it's all lovey-dovey, but like, wow, like, I need to be convicted of, like, I just yelled at my wife last night or whatever, or I snapped on something, like, wow, like if I were to keep doing this, the end result would be, destruction for my family and for my life. So thank you, God, for showing me this. I thought it was cool that you said you take extreme ownership, one of, like, if I don't get in the gym, that's my fault. If I don't read the scriptures, it's my fault. But how do you think that motivates you? How has that motivated you more to want to get on your spiritual side more, to flex that muscle, if you will, or yeah, like where do you think you're at with that? Has that helped you, in other words?
Sorry, someone just tried calling me. If that, just pause that for a second. So, and I even put it on do not disturb, so they must have called me twice or something. So where I found success, where I found motivation on the spiritual end, and particularly with scriptures, is when I've given it consistent effort over time. When I have given it consistent effort over time, even if it's not like I'm having these earth-shattering experiences with God, when I do that, it builds, it just kind of building on each other. And then all of a sudden, when I don't do it for a day or two, I'm like, whoa, I really missed that. And I didn't realize that it was going so well until it wasn't, right? And so I think where I've built up some of that spiritual momentum is just doing it. I remember when my wife and I would read scriptures together when we were first married. She's a spiritual giant, man. And I want to be like her in so many ways, basically every way. And one of them is spiritually. And I remember being excited to read scriptures with her. And we've read scriptures and I'm like waiting for like some revelation to come. And it wasn't coming. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? You're like a freaking spiritual giant. Where is all this? I'm supposed to be getting revelation right now. And what it was, or what it wasn't, was, but then I realized that just in the act of doing it, I was feeling the Spirit and I was growing spiritually because we showed that commitment to God and to each other, and that was an important part of our relationship. And by doing it, we were growing and feeling growth spiritually. One thing I'll kind of backtrack though on something that you said that I would probably recommend people do. I too think that our millennial generation spends way too much time on Instagram and on social media, and it becomes a detriment to their success because they don't get an opportunity to live in the now as much, because they're living through other people, or they're living through like, man, that's awesome. Oh, I love it. Oh, this is, and some people, they don't even really know, right? But they kind of not worship, but look up to so much. How many years ago, man? 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to plug in my phone downstairs a long ways away from my bed, and I bought an old school alarm clock so that I wasn't going to sleep looking at Instagram and waking up to Instagram. There's something about your brain that needs a break from that, right? And I think that some of people like missing out on right now because they're just chasing stuff is kind of get lost in the social media webs, and they don't stop and give themselves some of that me time, right? I try not to pick up my phone until I go on my walk after I drop off my kids at school, right? And I have all this time in the morning before I even look at my phone. And most people, and not that it's a bad thing, it's just kind of what it's evolved to. Most people's alarm clock is their phone. So when they wake up, they wake up to their phone, and they wake up, they kind of, without doing anything on their part, they see notification, right? Emails, text messages, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, right? It's just all right in front of their face. And they don't have an opportunity to not be connected to that. And so a life hack that's worked really well for me is having a turn off time and plugging my phone in. And actually, I do bad at the turn off time. I basically just plug it in right before I go to bed. I would prefer to plug it in a little bit longer, so I had a little bit more no phone in my face time at night. But definitely in the morning, when I get up, it's not in my face, and I don't look at it until a certain time, so that I can have a bunch of me time, not interrupted by what's going on in the back of my head, like, oh, how many messages do I have, and are they important or not important, or what have you. So
right.
There's another practical takeaway.
I love that. Appreciate that. Let me ask you this then before, because I know that you're probably going here in a second, but as far as time efficiency goes, I have been a huge proponent and advocate for tracking everything to the micro action that you do. I'm the crazy one that knows 67% of what I did last year to the micro action. I track it through an app called A Tracker, and I've got literally like 8 different items that I track with my wife now. One of them is spiritual time with my wife, quality time with my wife, hanging out with my wife, on the phone with my wife. I don't know if I ever said spiritual time with my wife or not, but spiritual time with my wife, for hanging out with my wife and family and friends, fighting with my wife. I track those things because they're important to me. It's not just those, but those are some of the things that I track. I track when I ran a major solar company, I tracked how much time I'm spending with the top 20% of my reps. Because if I'm not spending the time, if I'm not doing what all these books and mentors tell me to do, that I'm paying multiple 6 figures to be around. And if they're saying to spend 80% of your time when you're wearing the coaching hat and mentor hat to be 80% of the time with the top 20%, if I'm not doing that, like, how do you track that stuff? Right. So, are you a big guy in tracking stuff? Cause it seems like the level of consistent effort over time has to be tracked in one way, shape, or form. Are you a calendar guy? I mean, obviously you got to be a calendar guy. Tell me you're a calendar guy.
I'm a calendar guy. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Phone, yeah.
What are, when it comes to like tracking the things, right? Like you said, you track how many times you go on daddy-daughter dates. You track how many times are, if you're not having those things, you start to see your life go down. You're not tracking, if you're not having those consistent times, in scripture, like this, how you're saying consistent effort over time, it might, progress over perfection is what I'm hearing. But like, are you tracking these, and what way are you doing that? And how do you go back? Is it every month, every week, every morning? Like, I don't think guys can consistently do it every morning, but like, is it every quarter you do it? There's a quote that I have on my mirror. It's your direction determines your destination. So I'm a big proponent that the direction that you're headed to is going to be the direction you're headed is going to be your destination. So if you're not, in other words, how do you track these things? Is there a routine that you do consistently to make sure you do a wellness check on your wife, or a wellness check on your 4 daughters? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and it's actually an area of weakness where I don't do a great job of tracking. I do, though. I have like it's not a real structured weekly plan, but I have a weekly plan that is one of the things that I, like you, have heard over and over again, right? Have a weekly plan. That's one of the most effective tools that you can do, is have a weekly plan. And I've wanted to, and I've thought about it, and I don't know when, and I've kind of like been like on it. finally I was just like, dude, even if I'm not good at it and I'm not perfect at it and I don't have it all locked down, I'm going to do it. And so I've been doing better at that. But I even if I wasn't tracking it necessarily, on a weekly basis is kind of where I'm checking in with myself. I'm checking in on, did I have my dates? Did I get my workouts in? Did I connect with people enough or not in my job? And like on a weekly basis, and then on a monthly basis, every first Sunday of the month, I'll kind of have a bigger monthly check-in of where I'm at with all of my different responsibilities. Have I done well, not done well? I don't again document it a ton or track it like I should, but I do check in with myself on the things. And if there's a glaring thing of like, oh, you've totally dropped the ball on this, then I give it time and attention. Yeah. So that's
because you have standards? Because in other words, like I know I'm an anomaly. Like I get it. Like not everyone's going to be able to track their micro actions, but like, again, you've been able to do that without writing it down. And that's what I want people to hear is you don't have to be Mikey Lucas to track, 18 hours every single day, not including sleep, to know what you're doing to be successful. You have, what it comes down to is what I'm hearing is that it's because you have so many standards and your standards are set so high that you can tell over time, and you've built that, when things are not in alignment.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Your musts, if you will.
Yeah. That would
change your shoulds to a must.
Yep. But you nailed it. Thanks for helping me crystallize that.
Yeah. Just time efficiency is like everything. How do we become more efficient, effective, and productive at the same time? How does a Golden Door Award winner become a double Golden Door and a triple Golden Door Award winner? I interviewed Ricardo Ritchie about a week ago. I mentored him last year, and the guy's on track to hit 500 accounts. Like the kid is just an absolute beast. And it sounds, again, the consistencies that I'm seeing in attributes as far as a Golden Door Award winner, that I want people that are listening that are hitting 40 to 60 deals a year when they want to get to that 130 installs in a year, is the specific character traits and attributes that every single Golden Door Award winner that you listen to on here is saying. And also to be able to give encouragement to the Golden Door Award winner that is listening to this, that, hey, you're not crazy. You don't have to have it all together. Like just do the things consistently over time. Like that, do the things that's working, and keep doing those things off board. Right. So tell me, before we end here, because I know that you probably get moving here. I have so many questions I want to ask you, but tell me a little bit more about is there any regrets that you have as a dad so far?
Going deep, dude. Going deep. The thing so I learned, my wife, her degree was in marriage, family, and human development. And
let's go.
Then she got a master's degree in family recreation.
And then a doctorate in nursing? Like, what else does she do?
No, she will be a doctor sometime. She loves studying. But her thesis was on fathering. It was like no pressure, right?
What pressure for your daughter's eventual husbands?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys better not screw it up. We know what to do and not to do. Yeah. But one of the things that is in all the literature is that by the age of like 8 or 9, 10 maybe, kids have basically had most of their foundational experiences already set, and some that will point them in a direction. A lot of us have some sort of abandonment type of experience when before we were 10 that will like shape our life. Mine, when I as I kind of learned more about this, thought about it, I had an experience where I thought my dad was dying, and I was just asking him to help me turn off a light, and I was yelling, and he came storming from downstairs up to the stairs to turn off the light. And he said, Ashton, I'm not always going to be here to turn off the light. Just get out of bed and turn off the light by herself. And I thought he was just up like a door or two up the hallway, right? I didn't know that he was down in this study. And now and so I took that as a kid, I interpreted that as a kid as, oh my gosh, my dad is dying. And I cried myself to sleep that night because I thought my dad was dying. And I started to live my life because I thought for my dad, because I thought my dad was dying. And it took me till I was like 30 something to realize that or learn that. And so with my kids, I don't know that I necessarily have a regret, but it's always on my mind. Oh crap, dude, have I screwed them up already? Like I've got 2 kids, one that's 9 and one that's 12, that I'm like, they've probably already had their experience with me. What was it? I don't know what it was. Do they know what it was? Like they don't, and they probably won't find out what it was for a while, but I'm like, man, have I screwed them up? So I've got 2 other ones, a 1.5-year-old and a almost 5-year-old. I'm like, am I helping? Am I doing good? Am I helping them be good? Am I helping them see that hard work is good and meaningful and teaching good principles? And I hope I am. And I don't know that I have a regret necessarily of like, oh, I wish I would have done that or I should have done that. It's just, but I'm conscious of trying to do the best I can so that their traumatic experience, like I thought my dad was dying, wasn't the worst thing in the world for them, or that that it doesn't turn them in a bad way, that it helps them in some way to be progressive and good. So that's on my mind. I guess I haven't had anybody really ask me that question. Like I guess the other thing that I might think, and I don't know if it was from when I was raised that I was told to be careful a lot, or if I just am a protective dad, but I tell my girls, oh, be careful. Oh, be careful, be careful. Maybe too much. Like, it's okay if you fall over and scrape your knee, Ashton. Like, let your kids scrape their knee, they'll learn from it. Yeah. But I'm always like, oh, be careful, because these are my precious babies, man. These are my girls, and I don't want them to get hurt. And sometimes when I would say, oh, be careful, in my mind I think, am I hampering them too much to not just go be adventurous? Should I start saying, go for it? Yeah, don't be careful, or something. So I don't know. I don't know that that's something that just come up for me recently in the last couple of weeks where I've thought, am I saying that too much? I might be. But I'm again conscious that their development, something's happened before the age of 10, and I've already 2 of them have almost made it there,
Yeah.
So
appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that, dude. One of the life, I guess you could say brain hacks that I've used is I don't like when my wife says drive safe, because growing up, my mom and dad were always like, yeah, just be safe, honey, go be safe. And I'm like, I am more than a conqueror. I'm not safe. Like, what are you talking about? So say, drive smart. There you go. Because someone that's smart and someone that's safe might be the difference between someone that gets, nailed by an 18-wheeler or makes it through.
Yeah.
I don't know, a little mind trick hack there. Instead of saying be smart or be safe. Yeah, be safe out there.
Be careful. Maybe we should start saying be smart. Yeah,
be smart. So I don't know. I wanted to give you a little nugget there. So I know that it's not that, hey, what was your biggest regret? It was because of the legacy that I know you want to leave for your family. You want them to see the consistent effort that you're putting in over time. I ask that because I'm trying to make sure you don't forget the main thing. I know you know what that is already, so I think that's pretty awesome.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
And I want to commend you on that you're just an outstanding sales professional. You're a great human. You're a great father. Dude, you're a leader that's worth following. And I just appreciate your time. So thank you for adding massive value to the industry and continuing to do that. So when are you going to retire, by the way? Are you ever going to retire?
Man. Yeah, probably never.
I love it.
Probably never. Keep pumping away, man. Keep pumping accounts. Keep affecting lives. Why not?
Yes, sir.
Got the opportunity to.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man.